Remember the gripping courtroom battles and sharp intellect of Perry Mason, the classic legal drama that captivated audiences from 1957 to 1966. It's been decades since Raymond Burr and his unforgettable co-stars brought justice to life on screen, but where are they now? In this special Then and Now 2025 feature, we take a nostalgic journey through time to see how the cast has changed, what paths their lives took after the show, and how their legacy still lives on today. Whether you're a lifelong fan or just discovering the series, you won't want to miss these incredible transformations and stories behind the scenes. Raymond Burr, who portrayed the iconic Perry Mason, was 40 years old when the legal drama premiered in 1957. Known for his commanding presence and meticulous courtroom strategy, Burr became synonymous with justice and intellect. However, his off-screen life was filled with secrecy and sorrow. Burr struggled with his sexuality in an unforgiving era, fabricating stories about a fictitious wife and dead child to mask his truth. Though he had a long-term partner, Robert Benavides, their relationship remained hidden. Burr never had children, and his extended family relationships were distant. Following Perry Mason, he faced typecasting and growing health problems, including kidney cancer that ultimately took his life in 1993 at age 76. His later years were marred by isolation and heavy medication. Despite his fame, Burr lived modestly and poured much of his earnings into a private vineyard and philanthropic work. At the time of his death, his estate was estimated at $4 million, much of which was quietly left to Benavides. His tragic life was a stark contrast to the clarity and order he delivered on screen. Barbara Hale, who played the ever-faithful Della Street, was 35 when she brought the smart and composed secretary to life. Her chemistry with Burr was magnetic, though purely platonic. Off-screen, Hale married actor Bill Williams, but their relationship was fraught with jealousy and long separations due to their careers. The couple had 3 children, including actor William Catt, but Hale often bore the burden of raising them alone. After Perry Mason, roles dwindled, and she turned to painting and reclusiveness. She struggled with anxiety and the fading of fame, often feeling forgotten by the industry she had once illuminated. Despite making occasional returns in Perry Mason TV movies, Hale lived quietly in her final years, battling COPD. She passed away in 2017 at age 94. Her estate, largely consisting of her family home and modest investments, was valued at around $1.5 million. Though remembered fondly, she privately lamented a life filled with missed opportunities and emotional distance from her husband. William Hopper, who played the sharp yet easygoing private investigator Paul Drake, was 42 when he joined the cast. Despite his charm on screen, Hopper's life was haunted by self-doubt and the shadow of his famous mother, gossip columnist Hedda Hopper. His one marriage to Jane Gilbert ended in quiet bitterness after years of emotional disconnect. They had one daughter, Joan, but Hopper's personal demons, including alcoholism and depression, often kept him distant. After Perry Mason, he hoped to find new acting opportunities, but the typecasting was suffocating. His health deteriorated rapidly after a series of strokes, leading to his premature death in 1970 at age 55. Hopper died nearly penniless, with an estate valued at just $100,000. Friends noted that he died lonely, battling not just illness but a lifetime of internalized pain and unresolved ambition. Despite his smooth persona, his final years were spent in seclusion, plagued by regrets over a faltering career and a fractured family life. Ray Collins, who portrayed the methodical Lieutenant Arthur Tragg, was already 67 when the series began. A veteran of Orson Welles' Mercury Theatre, Collins brought a seasoned gravitas to the role. However, behind the scenes, he was battling the early stages of emphysema and loneliness after a long-divorced marriage to silent film actress Margaret Marston. The couple had no children, and Collins lived alone in a small Hollywood apartment filled with mementos from better days. As his health declined, Collins was forced to leave Perry Mason mid-run, his absence quietly explained by scripts. He died in 1965 at age 75, physically diminished and emotionally isolated. His estate was modest, with assets estimated at under $75,000. Despite decades in the industry, his death went largely unnoticed. Forgotten by many he once mentored, Collins' final years were marked by a painful retreat from the world he had helped shape, leaving behind only scattered tributes and fading memories. William Towman, best known as the ever-defeated Hamilton Burger, was 45 in 1957 and brought a weary dignity to the district attorney who never quite bested Perry Mason. In real life, Towman faced harsher defeats. He was married 3 times, each ending in heartbreak. His final wife, Margaret, stood by him through scandal after he was arrested in a 1960 Hollywood party raid, an incident that nearly ruined his career. Towman had 6 children in total, but struggled to maintain closeness due to frequent separations and financial instability. Diagnosed with lung cancer in the mid-60s, he filmed a now famous anti-smoking PSA shortly before dying in 1968 at just 53. His estate was worth only around $200,000, burdened by hospital debts. Towman's death was tragic not just for its cause but for the broken connections left behind, estranged children, a tarnished reputation, and a life cut short by personal demons and public scrutiny. Don Anderson, who regularly appeared in the background of the courtroom scenes as a police officer or spectator, was 41 in 1957. Though largely unnoticed by fans, he was a familiar figure on set, known for his punctuality and quiet demeanor. Off-screen, Anderson endured a quiet life marked by failed ambitions. He longed for bigger roles but was rarely considered beyond bit parts. He married once in 1950 to a woman named Eleanor, but the relationship crumbled under financial strain and his growing bitterness. They had no children. After Perry Mason, he faded from Hollywood almost entirely and lived out his remaining years in a modest retirement home in Ventura. He died in 1995 at age 79 from complications related to diabetes. His estate, composed primarily of savings and a small pension, was estimated at $120,000. Anderson's death was nearly unreported, a quiet end to a career and life lived perpetually in the background, both literally and metaphorically. Wesley Lau, who took on the role of Lieutenant Andy Anderson in the later seasons of Perry Mason, was 40 when he joined in 1961. He portrayed a composed and rational police lieutenant, often serving as a foil to Mason's legal prowess. Lau brought intelligence and subtlety to the role, earning respect within the industry. However, his personal life was plagued by hardship. Married to theater actress Elaine Durbin, their marriage crumbled under the pressures of his career and his increasing bouts of anxiety. They divorced in 1971 after having 2 children, Timothy and Rachel, whom Lau remained distant from due to long absences and emotional unavailability. His post-Perry Mason career stalled, with roles in soap operas and forgettable guest appearances. Diagnosed with a degenerative heart condition in the late 1970s, his health rapidly deteriorated. Financial strains led him to file for bankruptcy in 1982, and he spent his final years in a modest apartment in Burbank. Wesley Lau passed away on August 30, 1984, at the age of 63, from heart failure. At the time of his death, his estate was valued at under $10,000, a stark contrast to the confidence and authority he once commanded on screen. Georgie Stone, who portrayed the court clerk in various minor roles in Perry Mason, was 56 years old when he joined the series in 1958. Recognized for his diminutive stature and raspy voice, Stone added a touch of authenticity and texture to courtroom scenes. His career, once promising in the 1930s with roles in gangster films, had drastically declined by the time he joined Perry Mason. Stone suffered from severe health problems, including progressive blindness due to diabetes, which gradually affected his ability to work. He was married briefly in the 1940s to a costume designer named Ruth Feldman, but the union was short-lived and childless. Following their divorce, Stone lived in a series of low-rent apartments, and was known to struggle with loneliness and depression. His disability forced him into early retirement, and he became reclusive, often depending on the goodwill of fellow actors and a modest Screen Actors Guild pension. Georgie Stone passed away on May 26, 1967, at the age of 65, from complications related to a stroke. At the time of his death, his financial situation was dire, with an estate valued at just over $5,000. Forgotten by Hollywood, Stone's quiet contributions to television were only celebrated long after his passing by fans of classic television. John Lawner, who portrayed various judges in Perry Mason, was 45 years old when he began appearing in 1958. With his stern voice and commanding presence, he lent credibility to the judicial roles he embodied, becoming a familiar, if often overlooked, fixture of the series. In real life, Lawner led a life marked by disappointment and misfortune. He married schoolteacher Evelyn Markham in 1940, and they had 3 children, David, Lillian, and Robert, but their marriage was fraught with tension, largely due to Lawner's emotional distance and extramarital affairs during his stage years. The couple divorced in 1962, and his relationship with his children remained strained for decades. After Perry Mason, he found few acting opportunities and struggled to transition to newer formats in television. His declining health and increasing reclusion in the 1980s made headlines briefly when he was found living in isolation in a rundown apartment in Pasadena. Despite these personal tragedies, he lived to be 93, passing away on November 8, 2006, from natural causes. His estate, managed by a trust set up in the late 1990s, was modest, estimated at $60,000. Lawner died quietly, largely forgotten by the industry, despite having held court in one of TV's most iconic legal dramas. Bert Stevens, who appeared in numerous background roles on Perry Mason, was 56 years old when the series began in 1957. Though seldom in the spotlight, Stevens' presence was quietly dependable. He portrayed courtroom observers, businessmen, and townspeople with subtle professionalism. Born Malcolm Byron Stevens, he was the younger brother of renowned actress Barbara Stanwyck, yet he lived in her shadow throughout his career. Despite her success, their relationship was distant. They rarely spoke after a falling out over a failed business venture in the 1940s. Stevens married once, briefly, to aspiring actress Mildred Dane, but the union ended without children, and he never remarried. Off-screen, his life was plagued by financial instability and emotional struggles. Typecast as an extra, he never broke into leading roles and suffered from low self-worth, often battling depression. After Perry Mason, roles dwindled, and he worked as a janitor in a studio lot to survive. In 1964, he suffered a fatal heart attack while alone in his Los Angeles apartment, and was discovered days later. He died on December 14, 1964, at the age of 63, nearly penniless, with an estate worth less than $1,000. His death received little public attention, and he was buried in an unmarked grave. Only years later would film historians acknowledge his prolific but overlooked contributions to Hollywood's golden age. Richard Anderson, who portrayed Lieutenant Steve Drum in the later seasons of Perry Mason, was 38 years old when he joined the series in 1964. A composed, by-the-book police officer, Drum offered a stark contrast to the hot-headedness of earlier lawmen on the show. Anderson's suave appearance and disciplined delivery made him memorable, though his tenure on the show was short. Off-screen, Anderson led a life riddled with heartbreak. He married actress Carol Lee Ladd in 1955, and they had 3 daughters, Ashley, Brooke, and Dava, but the marriage dissolved amid allegations of infidelity and long periods of separation due to his work commitments. Though he remained close to his children, Anderson never remarried and admitted in later interviews that he regretted placing career before family. After Perry Mason, he found success again with The $6 Million Man and The Bionic Woman, yet his later years were filled with loneliness. Following a stroke in the early 2000s, his public appearances dwindled. He spent his final years in a care facility in Beverly Hills, surrounded by old scripts and photographs but few visitors. He passed away on August 31, 2017, at the age of 91 from natural causes. His estate, built carefully over decades of consistent television work, was estimated at $2 million, with the majority left in trust for his daughters and a portion donated to children's literacy charities. Michael Fox, who frequently played the autopsy surgeon and other minor roles on Perry Mason, was 38 years old when the show began in 1957. A character actor with a knack for portraying intellectual and clinical figures, Fox's quiet demeanor and piercing gaze made him ideal for roles requiring authority and precision. Despite a prolific career in television, Fox remained largely anonymous to the public, a fact that deeply troubled him. He married stage actress Hannah Silver in 1949, and they had 2 children, Jonah and Rachel, but the marriage was strained by Fox's long working hours and increasing dependency on alcohol. They divorced in 1963, and though he remained active in his children's lives, he never fully recovered emotionally. His post-Perry Mason career was a series of small, often uncredited roles that left him feeling forgotten in an industry he had once served with pride. In the 1980s, he developed Parkinson's disease, which led to a steady decline in both health and work opportunities. He lived out his final years in a modest apartment in Woodland Hills, mostly secluded and surrounded by medical bills. He passed away on June 1, 1996, at the age of 75. His estate was valued at under $50,000, the bulk of which was used to cover medical expenses. Though largely forgotten by the public, Fox is still fondly remembered by fellow actors as a consummate professional. Willis Bauchi, who portrayed multiple judges on Perry Mason, was 52 years old when he joined the series in 1960. Known for his commanding voice and dignified demeanor, Bauchi gave gravitas to every courtroom scene he was in, earning the respect of peers and audiences alike. A lifelong character actor, he appeared in over 150 films and TV shows but never achieved leading man status, a fact that quietly embittered him. Bauchi married librarian Helen Morrissey in 1941, and they had one son, Charles, who later became estranged from him following a family dispute over acting as a career. His marriage, though long-lasting, was marked by emotional distance and mutual disappointment. After Perry Mason, Bauchi's career slowed considerably, and he sank into a reclusive lifestyle, battling arthritis and chronic pain. He reportedly spent his final years in a small home in Burbank, rarely venturing outside, surrounded by memorabilia and old film reels. He died on August 25, 1977, at the age of 69 due to heart failure. At the time of his death, his estate was modest, estimated at around $70,000, primarily from savings and limited royalties. Despite his obscurity at the end, Bauchi's performances live on as a symbol of the classic courtroom drama era. Kenneth MacDonald, who frequently portrayed judges on Perry Mason, was 53 years old when the series began in 1957. Known for his authoritative presence and baritone voice, MacDonald brought a gravitas to the courtroom that made him a reliable figure throughout the show's run. While he had a long-standing career in film and television, especially in westerns and serials, his personal life was much less stable. He married silent film actress Gladys Watson in the early 1930s, but their relationship deteriorated due to MacDonald's infidelity and heavy drinking. They divorced in 1946 after having one daughter, Emily, who later became estranged from him. MacDonald never remarried and reportedly grew increasingly isolated, spending most of his time alone in a modest Hollywood apartment filled with memorabilia from his career. In the 1960s, as roles became scarce, he faced financial hardship and quietly battled lung cancer, a condition he kept hidden from friends and colleagues. He passed away on May 5, 1972, at the age of 68 from complications related to the disease. At the time of his death, his estate was valued at approximately $18,000, primarily consisting of residuals and memorabilia. Though often overlooked, MacDonald's steady contributions to Perry Mason left an enduring legacy in the annals of courtroom television drama. Who is your favorite character from Perry Mason? How does it feel knowing that some of the actors are no longer with us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on future uploads. Thank you for your support.